Welcome back to our channel USA's Dark Secrets. If you are here for raw, real stories of betrayal and hard choices, stay with us and don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get started. Daniel walks into the living room, holding a bouquet of roses and a gift box. The room is decorated with candles and a framed wedding photo on the table. He sets the items down and takes a moment to look around, smiling. He picks up the gift and heads upstairs. As he approaches the bedroom door, faint laughter catches his attention. He stops, confused, and listens for a moment. Slowly, he opens the door. Inside, Mia is sitting on the bed between two men, all of them laughing and holding drinks. The room falls silent as they notice him. Mia stands abruptly, her smile vanishing. "Daniel," she exclaims, her voice trembling. "You're back." Daniel stares at her, then at the two men. "What is this?" Mia hesitates. One of the men clears his throat, looking uncomfortable. I think we should go." "No one's going anywhere," Daniel says firmly, his voice steady but sharp. His gaze shifts back to Mia. "I'm waiting for an explanation." Mia steps forward, wringing her hands. "It's not what it looks like," she says. "Really?" "Because it looks like my wife is in our bedroom with two boyfriends." The second man interjects, "She said she was single." "Yeah," the first man adds. "She told me the same thing." Mia glares at them, then turns back to Daniel. "They don't mean anything to me. I was lonely." "You've been so busy, and Stop," Daniel interrupts, raising a hand. His voice is calm, but his expression is icy. "Don't try to blame this on me." Mia's voice falters. "I made a mistake." Daniel places the bouquet and gift on a nearby table, pulling a folded piece of paper from his pocket. He holds it out to her. She takes it hesitantly, unfolding it. Her eyes widen as she reads. "A divorce paper?" "Yes. Effective immediately." "Daniel, please. We can work through this. I love you." Daniel takes a deep breath, his jaw tightening. Love isn't sneaking around behind someone's back. Love isn't disrespect. You've made your choices, and now I'm making mine. He turns and walks toward the door. "Wait." Mia rushes after him, grabbing his arm. "We can fix this." Daniel stops but doesn't turn around. "You already broke it, Mia." He pulls his arm free and walks out of the room. The two men exchange awkward glances. "So, we're leaving, right?" one of them says. The other nods. "Yeah, definitely." Outside, Daniel sits in his car. He exhales deeply and stares ahead for a moment. His hands grip the steering wheel tightly. He closes his eyes briefly before starting the car and driving away. As Daniel drives away, the city lights blur in his vision. His hands tremble slightly on the wheel, the weight of what just happened pressing down on him. He doesn't know where he's going, only that he can't stay in that house anymore. He pulls into an empty parking lot and turns off the engine. For a moment, there's silence, broken only by his shaky breathing. He leans his head back against the seat and closes his eyes. Memories flood his mind, their wedding day, their vacations, late-night talks about the future. Each memory feels like a knife twisting deeper. After a few minutes, his phone buzzes. He looks at the screen and sees Mia's name. She's calling, again and again. He tosses the phone onto the passenger seat, letting it ring until it stops. Then a message comes through, "Please come back. Let's talk." He stares at the message, his jaw tightening. Finally, he types a single response, "There's nothing to talk about." He hits send and throws the phone into the glove compartment. The night feels endless, but Daniel decides he needs to clear his head. He drives to a nearby park, one they used to visit together. The air is cool, and the quiet of the park feels like a balm to his chaotic thoughts. He sits on a bench, staring at the empty playground. Suddenly, his thoughts shift. This isn't just about betrayal. It's about what comes next. The house, the shared finances, the friends they have in common. His life is tangled with hers, and untangling it feels overwhelming. As dawn breaks, Daniel makes a decision. He pulls out his phone, not to call Mia, but to call his best friend, Chris. "Hey," Chris answers groggily. "It's 6 in the morning. What's up?" "I need a place to crash," Daniel says simply. Chris is silent for a moment, then says, "What happened?" "I'll explain later." "Can I come over?" "Of course." Doors open. When Daniel arrives at Chris's apartment, he feels a small sense of relief. Chris opens the door, still in his pajamas, and immediately pulls Daniel into a hug. "You look like hell," Chris says, stepping aside to let him in. "I feel worse." They sit on the couch, and Daniel explains everything. Chris listens without interrupting, his expression shifting from shock to anger to sympathy. "You did the right thing," Chris says when Daniel finishes. "She didn't respect you or your marriage. You deserve better." Daniel nods, though he doesn't feel any better. "It's just 5 years. Gone. Just like that." Chris pats his shoulder. "It's not gone. You learned something about yourself, about what you want and what you won't tolerate. You'll come out of this stronger." Over the next few days, Daniel starts taking steps to rebuild his life. He hires a lawyer to handle the divorce and moves some of his belongings to Chris's place. He blocks Mia's number and deletes her from his social media. One evening, as he's sorting through old photos and deciding what to keep, he finds a journal Mia had given him on their first anniversary. He flips through it, reading the messages they had written to each other. Her words from years ago now feel hollow, but instead of feeling sad, he feels a spark of determination. This isn't the end. It's a new beginning. Weeks pass, and Daniel begins to focus on himself. He picks up old hobbies, starts hitting the gym, and reconnects with friends he hadn't seen in years. Slowly but surely, he starts to feel like himself again. One day, while walking through the park, he notices a woman sitting on a bench, sketching in a notebook. She looks up and smiles at him briefly before returning to her drawing. There's something genuine in that smile, something unburdened by deceit. For the first time in a long time, Daniel feels hope. Daniel continues his walk through the park, the fresh air filling his lungs and easing his mind. For the first time in weeks, he feels a sense of calm. He glances back at the woman on the bench, still engrossed in her sketch. Something about her focus, her quiet confidence, intrigues him. But he shakes off the thought and keeps walking. Over the next few days, life begins to take on a rhythm. Daniel pours his energy into his work, finding it therapeutic to focus on projects he had neglected. Chris proves to be a solid support system, always ready with a joke or a listening ear when Daniel needs it. One Saturday, Daniel decides to visit the park again. He brings a book this time, hoping to enjoy some peace and quiet. As he settles onto a bench near the lake, he notices the same woman from before. She's seated a few benches away, sketching once more. This time, their eyes meet, and she smiles. Daniel hesitates for a moment before nodding back. After a while, curiosity gets the better of him. He closes his book and approaches her. "Hi," he says, his voice steady but cautious. "I couldn't help but notice you're always drawing. Mind if I take a look?" She looks up, a little surprised but not displeased. "Sure," she says, handing him her sketchbook. Daniel flips through the pages, impressed by her talent. Her sketches are detailed and expressive, capturing the beauty of ordinary moments: trees swaying in the wind, children playing, a couple holding hands. "These are amazing," he says, handing the book back. "You've got a real gift." "Thanks," she replies with a shy smile. "I'm Lila, by the way." Daniel, he says, extending his hand. They shake hands, and the conversation flows easily from there. Lila tells him she's a freelance artist who spends her free time drawing outdoors for inspiration. Daniel shares a little about his life, though he avoids mentioning his recent heartbreak. As the sun begins to set, Lila closes her sketchbook and stands. It was nice talking to you, Daniel. Maybe I'll see you around? Yeah, he says, smiling for the first time in what feels like ages. I'd like that. Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Lila bump into each other at the park several times. Each meeting feels less like a coincidence and more like fate. They talk about everything: art, books, life, and Daniel finds himself opening up to her in a way he hadn't expected. One evening, as they sit by the lake, Lila asks, "You seem like someone who's been through a lot. What's your story?" Daniel hesitates. He's not sure if he's ready to share everything, but something about Lila's gentle demeanor puts him at ease. He tells her about Mia, the betrayal, and how it turned his life upside down. Lila listens intently, her expression empathetic. When he finishes, she places a hand on his arm. "I'm sorry you went through that," she says softly. "But I'm glad you didn't let it define you. You're stronger than you think." Her words stay with Daniel long after their conversation ends. He begins to realize that while the pain of the past will always be a part of him, it doesn't have to control his future. One day, Lila invites him to one of her art exhibits. Daniel is hesitant at first, worried about stepping into a world he knows little about. But when he arrives at the gallery and sees Lila's work displayed for all to admire, he feels a sense of pride for her. After the exhibit, they sit together outside the gallery. Lila turns to him and says, "Thank you for coming. It means a lot." "I wouldn't have missed it," Daniel replies. They sit in silence for a moment, the city lights twinkling around them. Finally, Lila speaks again. "Daniel, I don't know where this is going, but I like spending time with you. You make me feel grounded." Daniel smiles, his heart feeling lighter than it has in months. "I like spending time with you too. Let's see where it goes." As the weeks turn into months, Daniel and Lila's bond deepens. While the scars of his past remain, they no longer feel like a burden. Instead, they serve as a reminder of how far he's come and how much he's grown. In Lila, Daniel finds a sense of peace and companionship he thought he'd lost forever. And in himself, he discovers a resilience he never knew he had. Life, he realizes, isn't about avoiding pain, it's about finding the strength to heal and allowing happiness to find you again. As the seasons change, Daniel and Lila's relationship blossoms. They spend countless afternoons at the park, her sketching while he reads or simply watches the world around them. Each moment they share feels like a small piece of healing for Daniel, a step toward building something new and meaningful. One evening, as they walk along the riverside, Daniel opens up about something he's been thinking about for a while. "You know," he begins, his voice thoughtful, "I used to believe that once you lose trust in someone, it's impossible to let anyone in again. But meeting you, it's changed that. You've taught me that not everyone is out to hurt you. And for that, I'm grateful." Lila stops walking and looks at him, her expression soft but serious. "Daniel, you've been through so much. But you're not just surviving, you're growing. That's what makes you so incredible." Her words resonate deeply, and for the first time in a long while, Daniel feels a sense of pride in himself. Their bond deepens further as they begin to share more of their lives with each other. Daniel takes Lila to meet Chris, who immediately takes a liking to her. Over dinner, Chris jokingly says, "You're a definite upgrade from the last one," earning a laugh from everyone at the table, even Daniel. Meanwhile, Lila introduces Daniel to her circle of friends, who welcome him warmly. They're a creative and lively group, full of artists, writers, and musicians. Spending time with them inspires Daniel to explore his own interests. He picks up photography, something he'd dabbled in years ago but abandoned as life got busier. One weekend, Daniel and Lila go on a road trip to the mountains. They hike through lush trails, take photos of breathtaking vistas, and sit by a campfire under a canopy of stars. As they sit side by side, wrapped in blankets, Daniel feels a deep sense of contentment. "This," he says, gesturing at the starry sky and then at her, "this is what life should feel like." Lila leans her head on his shoulder. "It is. And it's only the beginning." The following months are filled with milestones. Daniel finalizes his divorce, and though the process is emotionally draining, he feels a sense of closure when it's over. He sells the house he once shared with Mia and moves into a cozy apartment that feels entirely his own. Lila helps him decorate, filling the space with warmth and personality. Her sketches adorn the walls, and Daniel's newfound passion for photography finds a place too, with framed photos of their adventures displayed proudly. As time passes, Daniel realizes that his feelings for Lila have grown beyond what he ever expected. One evening, while they're cooking dinner together, he pauses and looks at her, a thought forming in his mind. "Lila," he says, setting down the spoon he's holding, "I need to tell you something." She turns to him, her face curious. "What is it?" "I didn't think I'd ever say this to anyone again," he begins, his voice steady, "but I love you. You've shown me what it means to trust, to heal, and to hope again. And I can't imagine my life without you in it." Lila's eyes well up with tears, and she steps closer, taking his hands in hers. "Daniel, I love you too. You've brought so much light into my life, and I'm so grateful we found each other." Their kiss is tender and full of promise, sealing a bond that feels unshakable. From that moment, their relationship grows even stronger. Together, they face challenges and celebrate victories, always supporting each other. Daniel's photography gains recognition, and he holds his first gallery exhibition, with Lila proudly by his side. Years later, on a quiet evening in the park where they first met, Daniel gets down on one knee. With a small velvet box in hand, he looks up at Lila and says, "You changed my life in ways I never thought possible. Will you do me the honor of spending the rest of it with me?" Tears stream down Lila's face as she nods. "Yes, 1,000,000 times yes." Their story becomes one of redemption, love, and resilience, a testament to the fact that even after life's darkest moments, happiness and hope can find their way back.